I feel very fortunate to have sustained in my own position as the artistic director of Bard for 35 years. And for the record, there is no end in sight. We go on. And I don't go on out of a position of I will not leave. I've been asked to stay as long as possible, and so we shall go on for as long as I can, because I love to work, and obviously the success of this company is paramount in my mind. I have a wonderful life. I'm a very, very lucky person. I'm able to do this, what I love, and I have a wonderful family life, and I'm, as far as I know, I'm pretty healthy. You feel the aches of age, but nothing that I should complain about at all. Just the years go by, and I'm just thrilled to still be here and doing what I love. I think the beginning of Bard, the forming of it in my mind, and the doing it was, in a sense, over sentimentalize it or dramatize, because I can do that. It's like it's a vocation to me. I felt, I don't know if everyone feels this or not, but certainly I felt that there was something in the world that I could do that would be useful, obviously satisfying to me and hopefully to other people. And so even at the beginning of my career, I had a mentor, Douglas Campbell. And in fact, we call our small theatre the Douglas Campbell studio stage, and there's a painting of him behind me. But he was a huge impact on my life. He believed in me. I loved him and respected him, as so many did. I was not alone. But nevertheless, he took a great interest, I think, in my potential. And he kept saying to me as a younger man, "You're going to do something." And he'd hold me and squeeze my shoulder, and hard. And so, I kind of knew it. But I was lucky in that I'd had experience I came to Canada in 75, but in 1980 and 81 and in 83 and 84, I was part of two other Shakespeare festivals that were tented, one in Edmonton and one in Vancouver. Both failed in their second year. And I thought I knew why. I thought I knew why, but I could also see that it could be wonderfully successful. And I never forgot that. Other people tried to get it going again here in Vancouver. But I wonder what the motivation was for me to suddenly kick into gear. I think partly it was my father's death. I think in 88, I think sometimes the great positives can come out of something that is in one's own world a dreadful marker, a moment where you realize, hey, this doesn't go on forever. And so I think it was partly that, and I think partly as a younger player. I mean, I was in my later 30s then. Vancouver was a good place to work, and I was having a career. I played mostly at the Playhouse, and there was TV and film and voiceovers and later on cartoons and things like that. So I've always been busy, but I started to think, I had two children. Well, this is a small place just to have a career. Some people have done it, but I thought, well, what do I do? Do I become a Canadian actor and just play across the country, say bye-bye to my family, and I'll see you in a couple of months? Maybe they could fly out once, maybe not, whatever you could afford. What about going to live in Stratford, Ontario, and sort of hope to get hired there because you've lived there? Do I give it up? No. Or do I start my own thing? That was the answer. And so I managed to meet a group of people that I thought had the right stuff. And, and I directed them in a play, and I said to them, listen, I've got this idea. I think we should have a Shakespeare festival here, and should be tented, and we should leave the back of the theatre open so we can see the backdrop of the sea and the mountains. They thought it was a wonderful idea, and so they helped me. And they were an extraordinary group, and we managed to put on the first year of Bard. We dissolved that group after the first year for all sorts of reasons, but I took the company on, and here we are today. We had 6,000 people came in that first year, a budget of 35,000. We all shared in cooperatively in what was left over because we made money. So 27 of us got $1,250 each, and we did that for a couple of years. Then Canadian Actors Equity said, no more, you have to pay people now. And we were able to, somehow. We borrowed money from everywhere, paid it back, but we managed to do it. Anyway, Bard, pre-pandemic numbers, we'd have over 100,000 people would come to Bard every summer over the 4 months that we play, on a budget now of $10 million. So it's a great, it truly is a great success story in the arts. Of course, I'm surrounded by people that are as passionate, if not more so than I am, way cleverer than I am. We have an extraordinary board of directors. Everything's good about this company. There's a holistic warmness and decency in the culture of Bard. And I think that radiates out to 350 volunteers that we have, perhaps the biggest force of volunteers in the province. I don't know that, but I suspect we're pretty darn close. And a lot of people who help us financially, a lot of corporations that help us, and all the people that buy tickets. And one way or another, we make it. We do something good. I went to boarding school from 1960 to 70 when I was 8 years old till I was 18. I enjoyed my school, but I didn't win any prizes, I don't think, for my good work. I loved the sports element, and we did 1 or 2 plays a year. And now it's all changed. There's a drama department and everything, but in those days, nothing like it. But nevertheless, there was a Shakespeare play every year, and when I was 13 or 14, and I played Ursula in Much Ado About Nothing. It was the last year that the boys played the girls' parts, just like Shakespeare. I sniffed the breeze there. I already knew when I was much younger than that, I felt this massive desire to be an actor. And I applied for theatre school, and I was fortunate. I got into several of them, and I chose Bristol, the Old Vic. It's certainly bred a lot of awfully good actors. I had 3 years there. I grew up there. And at 18, I was, I suppose like many 18-year-olds, but certainly I've been protected from mankind, certainly womankind, because it was a boys' boarding school. But there I was at 18, living on my own in Bristol, and you had to figure out how to live, how to survive. Yes, I had my parents, and but you had to wash your own clothes. You had to buy your own food. You had to get to work, and all the practicalities of life and living. Anyway, I managed to accomplish all that. But the 3 years that I had was a time to grow up. And I matured and grew up, and when I was 21, I was able to join Douglas Campbell's company. I mean, I auditioned, and he accepted me. Um, Apparently, he went home to his wife, who was a great socialist, Moira, and she said, I hired this young actor today, public school boy, and she said, what? And he said, oh, yeah, I think I like him. He's going to be all right, I think. And anyway, and I think he loved that about me. I mean, he was a big socialist. I wasn't. I was quite a conservative lad from my family and my upbringing. But I've wavered all over the place all over the years, politically and in every other way. And I've sailed down the middle these days. Anyway, that's away from it all. So Bristol, for me, was a place to grow up and to learn all the techniques that that I've retained all my life. And if you ask any of the actors in the world that people know, of course, I wasn't at theatre school with her, but Olivia Colman, and of course Jeremy Irons and Patrick Stewart, they went to the same theatre school, not at the same time, but Pete Postlethwaite was there with me, and he was my best friend at theatre school, and he helped me a lot. He's been gone for a while now, but he was magnificent, a most unusual person. Again, he was from up north. He talked like that. You're all right, Chris. You're all right. Come on, let's go and have a pint. All that, and I was 7 years younger, but again, somehow he liked me. I don't know whether maybe I had more money than I could buy the beer. Probably that's why. I don't know. Anyway, we were chums. We were chums, and so what did I? That training that I had there, I think technique more than anything, and an understanding, whether it sounds arrogant, I don't know, that there are standards that you have to meet, and you have to aim for. I know everybody wants to, but I really wanted to jump high, and whether it was myself jumping high or everybody else now as a producer, I want everyone else to jump as high as they can and be as marvelous as they can, because that's the way we'll make the theatre successful. That to encourage people to love it and to nurture it, because it's such a rich part of our life, telling the stories of who we are and what we could be, our potential and our sadness and our beauty and our love and our humanness and all the glories of our lives. So that was a great beginning for me, and I've never forgotten it. You talk to any of those people, those names I just mentioned, and they'll start to do impressions of our teachers. They all had the same, many of them. Rudy Shelley, for one, he would he would he would speak to our class, and he said, "Oh God, look at you! For God's sake, stand up, lift your bolero, and squeeze your lemon." And this is all this, and you ask Jeremy Irons, he'll do exactly the same impression. Anyway, great people, and so I was able to bring that as an actor. I don't teach it or do any of that here. We have other great people that make sure that our actors get out on stage and know what they're doing. But I think all that helped me as a player, and maybe helped set a bit of a mark inside our company. But there's so many more actors at Bard these days that are way beyond what I ever was, and that's just fine by me. I've got a birthday coming up. I was born in 1952. I'm about to be 72, and so some dear friends of ours said, we're going on the Queen Mary 2 from New York to Southampton. So I thought, oh my goodness, that sounds marvelous. I spoke to Jennifer, my wife, and she came over on a ship to Canada from England. She was born in South Africa, lived in England, then her family moved to Montreal in 1957, came over on a ship. I came over, Douglas Campbell, when he said, go to Canada. You can do something in Canada in about this time of year, back in 1975. He said, go to Canada. And when you're in Canada, when trying to get to Canada, take a ship, discover how big the world is. The ocean is huge. And then when you get to Canada, catch a train and go right across it. It takes days. It's enormous, Canada. And anyway, so I went out next day, and on 132 pounds, I bought a 9-day trip on a ocean liner, the Stephen Batory, which went from the Port of London to Montreal. And so going back on the Queen Mary, all these, for me, almost 50 years later, for Jennifer a bit longer, much longer, but it's a return to where we came from, where I came from. And I'm coming back a week later, but by aeroplane. But it means something to me because what has happened in between? Well, a life, my life. And I shall, when we're mid-Atlantic, I shall contemplate what it felt like all those years ago, coming here, not knowing a soul in Canada, and arriving and starting my life as a Canadian. And I would say I'm a proud Englishman, but I'm an even prouder Canadian. And I love this country. And it's been very, very good to me. And I've invested all I can in it. And so perhaps at the end of the day, he had a wonderful life, a life well lived.